Millions of us are targeted in scams every year, and whether it comes in the form of an email, a cold call, or a knock at the door, they're all designed to do one thing and one thing only: to get you to part with your cash. Coming up, the con man who stole money by claiming to have invented a revolutionary building material.
It was absolutely nothing to do with him. It was part of his imagination, and he had no involvement in the generation and creation of hempcrete at all.
And I meet two girls whose dreams of musical stardom were snatched away by a scam.
We were led to believe that we were going to be pursuing this amazing opportunity, this dream, and it didn't exist.
When people say you should invest in bricks and mortar, they actually mean property, houses. But in 2009, a man persuaded scores of people to invest in a brick, a revolutionary new brick which he claimed to have invented.
Any investment would be doubled in a very short period of time.
All the houses of the future possibly could have been built with this product.
But a cross-border police investigation found that whilst the brick was real, the man claiming to have invented it was a fraudster who'd tricked innocent people into handing over their savings.
He would spend a lot of time and have a lot of knowledge to bamboozle his victims with, and would be very adept if he were a professional in the real world rather than turning his life to crime.
Wiltshire police were first alerted to the scammer's activity in October 2009. Experienced fraud officer Clive Reed was assigned to the case.
The first victims invested a substantial amount of money, and they saw no return on their money. And it wasn't long before they realised that they had been scammed.
The man at the centre of these complaints was called Barry Ayres.
Based on their complaint, an investigation was commenced, and based on what they were telling us, it led us to another victim. And it was almost like a snowball rolling down the hill, because as soon as you got hold of one victim, that led you to another, and on to another.
Across the border, Avon and Somerset were also getting complaints about Ayres. One of them came from this lady, who's asked to remain anonymous. For the purposes of the programme, we'll call her Louise. Louise is a freelance sales and marketing professional and a single mum. She was first approached by Barry Ayres via a dating site.
We chatted backwards and forwards and then moved on to speaking on the telephone, on mobiles, and then we met.
On their date, it soon became clear there was no romantic chemistry. But at the time, Louise was looking for ways to boost her savings, and Ayres said something that intrigued her.
He did tell me all about this product called hempcrete that he had discovered and invented, and that it was fantastic, and that it was going to actually change the building industry.
Ayres explained that hempcrete was an eco-friendly building material made from a mixture of lime and hemp. He said it was a revolutionary product, but he needed investment to help him build up his business.
I was certainly interested in this particular product because it did sound incredibly interesting. Very, very new and a possible opportunity.
Over the next few weeks, Ayres told Louise more about his business and even took her to meetings with potential clients so she could see their reaction to his revolutionary hempcrete bricks. Louise decided to invest, and in true Dragon's Den style, Ayres offered her a 1% share in the company for £10,000.
I couldn't possibly afford £10,000, but I would be able to pay £5,000 for the 1% share. Upon this, he accepted, welcomed me on board, and how exciting it was going to be and how much money, we would make from such a fantastic product. And that my sales and marketing ability would be a great asset to the company. I personally felt I was grabbing a great opportunity for myself and my children's future.
Over the following months, Ayres worked with Louise and his other investors, getting housing associations and councils interested in the product. But then his brick project hit a stumbling block.
They all loved the idea, but they wanted to see a hempcrete house actually built, and without doing so we were actually at a dead end. Because until we could build a house, invite them along, show them the quality of the product and how fantastic it is, we were stuck.
Ayres decided he needed to buy some land so that the hempcrete house could be built. He knew that Louise had just remortgaged her house, and he asked her to put in £20,000 on the promise that she'd receive £25,000 back once the house was complete. Louise agreed, and with the land secured, Ayres set up an impressive open day to attract even more investors.
And then within the meeting, a photograph of the land that I purchased came up. So it was all incredibly positive, and everybody came away very excited.
But that excitement soon faded. Over the following months, the build of the house kept being delayed as Ayres churned out excuse after excuse.
I was seeing less and less of Barry. He wasn't easy to contact. I then became quite uneasy, and I think it was around about December, I actually asked for my money back.
But Ayres fobbed her off and told her everything would be fine. And it turned out she wasn't the only one being strung along. In Wiltshire, Clive Reid had his hands full.
The investigation started in Swindon, and from there we branched down to Southampton, and from there just about every of the major towns in the UK.
And as the police gathered a large collection of witness statements, they saw recurring themes in the way Ayres would groom his targets.
Having taken his victims into his confidence, would always portray himself as being a very wealthy man. He would always turn up in large quality vehicles. He would wine, dine, and always be on the telephone to other entrepreneurs that were making large sums of money, which was always the next deal waiting to happen. He was very skilled at bringing people into his web with nothing of substance behind what he was telling them. It was all a pack of lies.
But the police were about to discover the biggest lie of all.
Our colleagues from Avon and Somerset made the initial approach to Lime Technology and the creators of hempcrete, and through statements that they obtained, it was apparent that Barry Ayres had absolutely nothing to do with generating the new idea or the development of hempcrete.
The brass neck of it. Hempcrete was a real and legitimate product, and it had nothing to do with Barry Ayres.
The management of hempcrete were annoyed, frustrated that someone from the outside should be using their ideas, their technology, as a way of making money. It was absolutely nothing to do with him. It was part of his imagination, and he had no involvement in the generation and creation of hempcrete at all.
A fact his would-be investors discovered to their cost.
I couldn't believe that he wasn't the inventor of hempcrete and that he had completely fooled me. The knowledge and the whole plan, if you think about all the meetings, the investors, the paperwork, I really, really did believe that he had invented hempcrete.
Yes, Ayres had used the good name of hempcrete as a way to get cash from innocent investors.
We uncovered 39 victims in total that had either had an involvement or had been duped by Barry Ayres.
The police now had the evidence they needed to arrest Ayres and bring him in for questioning, but the smooth-talking businessman suddenly went all shy.
During the course of interviewing him in the presence of his solicitor, Barry Ayres chose to take the road of no comment, and all the questions that were put to him during several interviews, he responded with a no comment. The only noticeable comment that he made during the course of those interviews was, if the people I spoke to were prepared to give me their money, then more fool them.
Ayres was charged with 4 counts of fraud, totalling £67,000, and he pleaded guilty at Bristol Crown Court.
Judge Picton, in his summing up, was quite ruthless towards Barry Ayres, in that he suggested to Barry Ayres that he was fully aware that he was before him for a mere crumb of what he'd been up to during the investigation, and took the only open course was to sentence him to 30 months imprisonment.
But this wasn't the end of the police's investigation. Clive Reid now passed the torch on to his colleague, Maria Delap, who'd been investigating Ayres under the Proceeds of Crime Act.
The Proceeds of Crime Act is a piece of legislation to show that crime does not pay. And on the day of when Barry Ayres was sentenced at Bristol Crown Court, I did a confiscation application where I was able to show that his total benefit from his crime was in excess of £450,000.
It seems that having been financed by his innocent investors, Ayres had been able to live a glamorous lifestyle.
Barry Ayres was trying to disguise where he had obtained this money by putting it through other named accounts. However, I was able to trace that he had a direct link to this money and he was benefiting from it.
It was an extremely complex and time-consuming investigation, but Maria also managed to get a financial reporting order placed on Ayres.
He has got to report to the police where he's working, if he's on any benefits, what assets he's got, where he's living, everything about his lifestyle he has got to declare to the police every 6 months for the next 12 years. Hopefully this will deter him from committing further crime and protect the public.
It was a great result for Wiltshire Police, but for Barry Ayres' victims, his legacy continues. Single mother of 2, Louise, has lost her £25,000.
He's ruined my life forever. You know, I'm never ever going to be able to earn that type of money and pay it back. Not only am I paying the mortgage back, but I'm also paying the credit cards back. My credit rating is rubbish. Financially, my children are having to do without because I just can't afford it. But he knew that, and he still took that money from me.
For more information about the scams featured in the series, go to bbc.co.uk/scammed. It's only natural to have dreams. Travelling the world, retiring to the south of France, that sort of thing. I'm about to meet 2 women who dreamt of making it big in the music industry. One con man stole their dreams and their money. Best friends Lindsay and Elizabeth, known as EJ, have dedicated their lives to performing, and over the years they've had some success. Lindsay has sung in bands, and EJ has made a name for herself as a DJ. Hey.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
You must be EJ the DJ.
I am indeed.
Shall I come on in?
Come on through.
The girls are now in their early 30s and EJ is expecting her first baby, but 2 years ago, they decided to join forces as a pop duo in the hope they could fulfill their ambitions of becoming bona fide stars. What was the dream originally for you with music?
Since a little girl, I've always wanted to perform in front of thousands and thousands of people.
And it's a dream that's shared by plenty of young people. But there are con men out there ready to take money from aspiring musicians by pretending to make their dreams come true.
Unfortunately, these type of scams do have a high success rate because people want to believe. So when someone offers them that opportunity, they want to believe in that person, they want to believe in their dream, and that makes them very susceptible to the scammer.
Lindsay and EJ were targeted by just such a scam, and it took their money, their dreams, and very nearly their friendship. So how does your friendship work? How would you describe it?
We hit it off straight away, and we've been inseparable. And I mean, to the point where there isn't a day that we don't contact each other. With the duo idea and being so close as friends, we felt, you know, this is going to work, this is going to be great, it's going to be a fantastic opportunity and experience for both of us.
The girls began working together, hoping their friendship might lead to chart-topping success. And in 2011, they were offered what seemed like a golden opportunity. They were introduced to a promoter who was looking for acts to perform in a major UK music tour. So, describe to me how you meet this chap.
I met the music promoter. Obviously, told me about this amazing opportunity. There's a UK national tour going ahead this year. You should really get yourselves on it. It'd be a fantastic opportunity to obviously showcase what you're about.
The promoter claimed to have a proven track record in the industry, and the girls were impressed with his professional-sounding approach.
I think once you meet someone who's credible, who looks like they could get you involved in the industry, then I think you're hooked.
But unbeknown to Lindsay and EJ, the promoter was in fact a con man, and he set about convincing the girls they were at a crucial moment in their pop careers.
Opportunities like this, I think sometimes you've just got to really just snap them up because, you know, the next day it might not be there, so...
But that's the kind of way he sold it, you know, his selling skills was really very good.
Using slick sales patter, the promoter built up the tour, telling the girls venues were secured and that other well-known acts were signed up.
But then, before anything actually happens, they will ask for some money. £300, £400, £500 maybe, just smallish amount in order to get people's careers on the right path.
Do you get paid?
No, you have to pay them to go on to a tour.
Right.
It's like a promotional opportunity, basically, and it's a showcase. You're showing your work.
How much are you paying him to go on this tour?
It was £540 each for a place on the tour bus to cover travel and food. We had to pay that, you know, pretty snappy because the tour bus, there was 2 tour buses apparently hired, and they were filling up very fast with other up-and-coming artists, and he very much stressed out that we had very little time because if we didn't pay straight away, we would lose our place.
The promoter was putting Lindsay and EJ under pressure to act fast. It's a classic fraudster technique. But EJ wanted to make sure they'd have everything in writing.
He wanted the payments ASAP. I asked for the information to be sent across. I wanted the contracts. I wanted a very detailed description of the venues, and I also asked for a receipt.
The promoter promised to provide all of these details in due course, and believing they were doing the best thing for each other, the girls signed up. They handed over a total of £1,080 and began preparations for the tour. Presumably, I mean, as you're doing all of this, you're getting excited about it, and, you know, it's a proper endeavour, isn't it?
We're really, really excited. You know, I'm going to be back on stage, performing, doing what I love.
Living the dream.
Yeah, basically.
The girls now invested more of their own money in studio time and voice coaching to ensure they would perform at their very best. But as the weeks went by, they still didn't know any details about the tour.
With the tour information, he would say, oh, there's a few more things that need to be confirmed, things that still haven't yet been organised, that I want everything to be 100% before I send you the, you know, the whole confirmation.
Once victims are paid over the money, they will be strung along that there's some excuse why it hasn't happened. And this is because the scammer wants to scam more people and doesn't want complaints.
The duo wanted to know dates and venues, but the promoter continued to use diversion tactics, telling them there was growing interest in the tour and that it was going to be filmed for a major TV channel. But when EJ kept pushing the promoter for information, he tried to turn Lindsay against her.
He'd get sort of a little bit defensive with me, but only towards you, and then communicate through Lindsay to say, why is EJ getting on my back? You know, I'm doing what I can do.
The girls wanted to believe the tour was on track and continued holding up their end of the deal by investing in time in studios, rehearsing and recording. But as weeks became months, they still didn't know when or where they were going to be performing, and the promoter continued fobbing them off.
He started to then sell the idea of having a music video, and he had connections in Cyprus. He said that's where we'll shoot the video. He wanted us to open the first scene in the tour.
But when the promoter asked for more money, enough was enough.
Again, it was another charge. It was £600. He wanted us to pay £270 deposit. However, because of the delay with the contracts and the tour information, which still hadn't arrived, still hadn't received it, I refused.
And now things got unpleasant.
His attitude became petty and personal. If I asked him an important question and I wasn't happy about the response, then instead of responding professionally again, he would then get on a personal level and start devaluing me as an artist and as...
What was he saying exactly?
Just saying that I wouldn't make it as an artist and that I was holding Lindsay back and that I'm not a good friend. Basically, just finding as much flaws with me as possible.
Well, the one thing the scammer wants to do is stay in control, and he doesn't want other people to blame him for things going wrong. So by pitting one of the singers against the other, they start blaming each other, and it turns the attention away from the fact that he's let them down.
But despite his plans to divide and conquer, Lindsay and EJ stuck firmly together. And what was he saying to you, Lindsay? Was he talking about EJ to you?
Started to say, oh, you know, you don't need her, you can make it without her. And I just thought, what is this guy talking about? Who are you, you know?
So, did you have that discussion then, the two of you together?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is dangerous. You're talking about splitting up your friendship.
That's what his intents were.
That's what he was trying to do, wasn't it?
He was, yeah. This guy was, you know, seriously trying to create an atmosphere between me and Lindsay and to make Lindsay doubt our friendship.
But Lindsay and EJ were rock solid and decided it was time to take matters into their own hands.
He'd mentioned a couple of places that we were supposed to be performing at, and with that, we got in contact with those venues and had never heard of the tour, didn't even know who the music promoter was, it had basically no information.
And when the girls searched online, they found others complaining that the same man had taken their money too. The tour simply didn't exist, and having taken people's money, the promoter wound up his company and fled. The girls contacted the police and began to come to terms with the fact they'd invested 3 months and over £1,000 in a lie. What effect did that have on you?
It was very devastating.
Yeah.
It was very disappointing. We had been conned out of a lot of money, and the fact that this guy had really reeled us into believing that we could really pursue our dreams as a duo performer. The frustration and I suppose, you know, in the fact like this guy could actually do that to us, knowing what our dreams are.
I think for me it was more embarrassment. Doing this act with my best friend, it wasn't going to happen. So it was sort of, you know.
We were led to believe that we were going to be pursuing this amazing opportunity, this dream, and it didn't exist. And then it kind of makes you go through a process where you think, whoa, you know, gosh, there's so many rats in this industry.
Well, I think this type of scam leaves a really bitter taste in the mouth of those who've been taken in, because they put a lot of trust in somebody. They've trusted that person to bring their dreams alive.
The girls have been left feeling that perhaps they were too friendly or too trusting.
We didn't do as much research as what we should have done in the beginning. We did it more or less after we parted with the money.
The truth is that the promoter callously exploited their desire for success. Part of being a performer is that you want people to like you. It's natural. And I think that's part of what he's maybe tapped into with you.
Yeah, possibly. That's probably what it was.
But although the con man took the girls' hard-earned cash, he couldn't take their friendship. That is the lesson from this scam. Because you have got someone that you trust and you talk very openly and honestly about the situation, it stopped it going and escalating, you know. So the way you work as a team is kind of a lesson to people. If you've got someone you trust, just talk to them, you know, and don't let the con man play you off against each other, which is clearly what he was trying to do.
Yeah, you know, for us, it was lucky that he didn't go any further, but obviously a lot of people will not be so fortunate.
So how can you avoid falling prey to the scammer who promises to make your dreams a reality?
The most important thing before you give your money to any agent or believe their promises is to do your research and, importantly, talk to people. Talk to referees, people who have been helped and whose careers may have been launched. If an agent asks for money up front, it could be a scam. You need to be very wary. If you really have got talent, they'll want to invest in you not you in them.
And finally,
If you think you have been scammed, if you think you've been taken in and this person hasn't delivered what they promised, then you should report it to Action Fraud. If you don't report it, then nothing can be done.
now before we go, there is just time to tell you about one of the latest scams out there. I've come to meet an expert from the Citizens Advice Bureau to get the lowdown on what you should be looking out for. Today we're looking at a scam that targets people looking to borrow money.
At CAB, you see so many people who are having trouble with debt.
Yes.
The very last thing they then need is to be a victim of a scam, but we have examples of scams that work that way, don't we?
We do, yes. You can be cold called and offered a loan. The promise is that you can definitely have this loan. That loan is there for you.
Typically, what happens next?
You're asked to pay an upfront fee and you think they've got contacts in the marketplace. You've only paid that money because you've been promised the loan. But the loan then doesn't exist.
How many times do we say upfront fee? When we talk about scams, it seems like that is a pretty common piece of advice.
It is, but paying money to borrow money just doesn't make sense.
Yes, be very wary of paying upfront fees for a loan. It could be a scammer trying to push you even further into debt.
Fraudsters will forever be coming up with new ways to get you to part with your cash, but armed with a little bit of knowledge, you can be one step ahead of them. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
With only 12 places up for grabs for next week's daunting knockout round, temperatures are on the rise in MasterChef tonight at 8:30. Next on BBC One, Real Rescues.